In this video, we describe the initiatives taking place within the Big Data Analytics and Anonymization Lab at the Hellenic Open University. The object of this lab is to conduct research in the field of large-scale data management and analysis in conjunction with privacy protection of this data, with a view to understand student behavior and interaction both with their peers but also with the teaching staff. Higher education institutions are facing major difficulties which will at some point render them incapable of sustaining their existence. Some of these problems include outdated curriculum, high rates of student dropout, and graduates who lack the necessary skills for the modern job market. This leads to a workforce that is unqualified and institutions which are outdated and irrelevant. It is obvious that changes need to be made. How should we go about it? A common decision-making method would be to look at the relevant information and base our decisions on this, rather than relying on intuition and hunch. One of the most primitive of these methods was used by the high priestess Pythia in ancient Greece, who was said to be able to read an oracle, when in fact she gathered information to make educated guesses. More contemporary methods of data-driven decision-making include controlled experiments like A/B testing and the use of questionnaires. However, all these methods present certain problems. With regards to experiments, scalability is a big issue, and as far as questionnaires are concerned, they are not considered reliable as people's answers are not always representative of their true feelings. Manual approaches to gathering data incur a very high cost as well. It appears that a suitable alternative is all around us. We are living in the petabyte age, which is characterized by rapidly developing technology and more information being gathered than ever before. This has led to the creation of Big Data Research Area, which we hope will provide the answers to some of the problems facing society today. The focus of Big Data is more so on how to store, index, retrieve, and interrogate data. In order to obtain solutions, it is imperative that the data is analyzed in a way that is intuitive and at the same time more user-friendly to reveal hidden models or patterns for prediction and summarization, which are not initially obvious. This means turning the process of theory proving on its head. As Chris Anderson, the former editor of Wired magazine, has written, in an article titled The End of Theory, rather than developing a global theory and using data to prove or disprove it, we should look for more local or less stringent models. To do this, we employ data mining and data analytics by using a well-established iterative process for model building and evaluation. It used to be the case that the focus of this process was on the practical steps, whereas it has now become apparent that the pressing need is to be able to tell a story with the data. The business world has already incorporated data analytics and has realized its value in combination with the realization of the competitive advantage that business insights offer. As 50 years later, Heinz approves Don Draper's Pass the Heinz ads from the television series Mad Men and is actually running them. Business has benefited and reaped rewards from the insights it has provided, and it would not be an exaggeration to say that it has revolutionized the way commerce works today. What is hoped is that these successful models can be applied to education with the same extraordinary results. When data analytics is applied to education, it is termed learning analytics or educational data mining. Learning analytics involves analyzing data that has been collected from different educational contexts and environments, and from various levels with a view to discovering patterns. By gaining this knowledge, decisions can be made and changes can be implemented which will bring about favorable outcomes for the students and the institutions. By endorsing this process, we are going to talk about the ventures we have undertaken and our results so far here at the Hellenic Open University. Hellenic Open University is a Greek university which offers distance and blended learning courses to mature students of diverse backgrounds, skills and qualifications. The unique nature of this institution means that we are presented with a unique set of problems as far as meeting the needs of our students is concerned. Finding ways to accommodate such a diverse population and optimize their learning experience is certainly a challenge. The main initiative we have undertaken is the creation of a lab, the Big Data Analytics and Anonymization Lab, where research is conducted on large-scale data in conjunction with privacy protection of this data. What we endeavour to achieve is to find ways to delve into the hidden patterns relating to student behaviour, communication, engagement, performance, and faculty guidance. How we achieve this is by collecting data from various sources in our data ecosystem, such as the Student Information System, the Learning Management System, and the Educational Material Repository, and then using established methods to analyse the data. We also aim to use our vast collective experience in this area to intuitively search for patterns which are more elusive and infinitely more useful. The range of tools we can apply to achieve this spans from the more general purpose data analytics tools like the R and Python programming languages and the Tableau system to much more specialized ones such as the learning analytics dashboards, such as device analytics, completion progress, and course education tools. In combination with the aforementioned tools, we use sophisticated hardware infrastructure, which is enhanced by the application of powerful distributed computing techniques like MapReduce and Hadoop to boost the speed and performance in our analysis. The following are the results obtained from analysing all this data in our university. This is some of the information we gathered from student admissions. Overall, we can see that we have a greater number of female applicants, although there is a progressive decline in the total number of applicants throughout the years. Also, we can observe from the graph on the right that the majority of the students belong to the 25 to 34 age bracket, followed by the 35 to 44-year-olds. On the left-hand side of this slide, we have a graph depicting the number of applicants, both male and female, for each school. We can see that the percentages vary, and the School of Humanities is much more popular with female applicants, whereas in the School of Science and Technology, the male applicants far outnumber the female. The graph on the right is a spatial depiction of the applicants' origin. The regions of Attiki, Achaia, and Thessaloniki are where we find the highest percentage of applicants, although for the rest of the country, there is not a particular pattern that can be detected. This slide shows the percentage of students who submitted assignments and quizzes in an undergraduate module. We can see that there is a slight decrease in the percentage of assignment and quiz submission, which is to be expected as the academic year progresses. This is a slide which relates to measuring engagement both for the students and the tutors. The student dedication information tells us how long a student stays connected to the platform and how many connections to the platform they make on average per day. The other two graphs give us the same information for each individual tutor. It is notable that even though some tutors dedicate the least amount of time in comparison to their colleagues, they still make an adequate number of connections. This sort of information allows the module coordinator to perhaps create some guidelines relating to best practices and establishing benchmarks for the tutors, which would lead them to be more efficient and will also help the coordinator objectively assess the tutors. These graphs illustrate the engagement students have with the content provided for them on their course. The large number of students who do not use the resources indicates that perhaps the content is problematic and needs to be rethought by the tutors and coordinator. This is an interesting slide. It shows the student engagement in relation to the time of day. From it, we can see that students are more active in the evenings, which is logical, especially in our institution, which caters to mature students who have family and job obligations during the day. So, going back to tutor engagement, it would appear that it would be more productive for tutors to also be connected to the system during the evening rather than in the morning, when student engagement is very low. This allows the students to communicate directly with their tutors if they need help, which makes the whole process much more efficient, more so for the students. The student progress bar above shows how many of the allocated activities a student completes, and from the overview page below, the tutor can compare how well an individual student is performing in relation to the group. This is an example of text mining in forum data, whereby individual terms are picked out of texts sent by students. A high frequency indicates that students are having difficulties due to misconceptions or require further clarification. The tutors can intervene by providing more information on the subject or by improving their teaching of the subject. These graphs show the interaction between students and tutors and between the students themselves. This gives an overview of the communication that is taking place, and it allows us to see how a tutor is interacting with their group. In this slide, we can actually see how many replies are given and how many discussions are initiated by an individual. Here we have the results of the sentiment analysis regarding polarity, obtained from a sample of students from a postgraduate module in our university. The first graph on the left represents the general polarity of sentiments, encompassing negative, neutral, and positive, based on messages they exchanged in the module's forum. The other four smaller graphs on the right represent the polarity for the most active students in the forum. Finally, we have the results of emotion analysis using the categories joy, unknown, anger, sadness, fear, and surprise. The green column represents the emotion with the highest frequency, which in the total sample is joy, followed by unknown, and the other emotions at a much lower percentage. The other four graphs, again, represent the students with the higher rate of engagement, where it would appear that unknown is the most frequent emotion, followed by joy, although in most cases at a much lower percentage. Perhaps this indicates that it is the less engaged students who contribute to the first result. Overall, it is obvious that learning analytics and its application to different contexts and environments has the power to transform the educational system as a whole, as well as to tailor the learning experience to the specific needs of individual students, which will eventually lead to their success. Using the resources available in our lab, we have been able to conduct research and experiment with the implementation of various learning analytics case studies with some promising outcomes. Even though we are at the initial stages, we hope to be able to discover ways to revolutionize our learning and teaching environments by offering our students the best possible services. In the future, we hope to be able to create increasingly sophisticated applications and gadgets and to create a kind of augmented reality environment which can communicate in real time how the student is performing. By being able to visualize their progress, both the students and the faculty will be able to avoid negative outcomes such as poor grades or even worse, student dropouts. Quoting Eric Schmidt, Google CEO from 2001 to 2011, technology is not really about hardware and software anymore. It's really about the mining and use of this enormous volume of data in order to make the world a better place. It is certainly food for thought.